You didn't believe anything that I said. When they came, you were not prepared. Then it all fell right on your head. And now you're lying in your bed. You've got yourself in a rabbit hole. You're trapped 'cause you did not let go. You took that bait and now...
Hey everybody, it's Carrie with Alice Eats the Apple, and we're live on Facebook. And I'm here with Sara Kujawa, my buddy.
Hi, everyone.
All right, well, welcome. This is the first time we've done Facebook Live in quite a while, and really, I think since Alice Eats the Apple, since Joyride Show.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. And so we had to kind of get the kinks out, and that's why I always put ish. We're going live 10-ish.
10-ish, yes.
10-ish.
That's Texas time.
It is Texas time. Well, okay, so Sara and I have been talking about this for a while. We've been talking about a holiday, kind of how to survive the holidays, how to kind of roll with it, how to do grief differently. And just sort of holidays bring up a lot in us, don't you think?
Oh, gosh. Everything surfaces.
It does.
I mean, it surfaces from our whole, everything from generations.
Yes.
Not even just this lifetime, generations.
And for some reason, we put such importance on these. I was thinking about that, on these days, on these just
Calendar.
they're just days, they're
just
calendar
days.
days, and we put so much meaning and importance, and they just get so heavy. And anyway, so how we want to structure this, we are going to go through, and we have a lot that we want to discuss and talk about, and then we're going to open up the lines and have you guys call in and share with us or ask questions. Sara is just a fountain of information. And so anyway, so let's get going.
A chocolate fountain.
A chocolate fountain.
That's right.
Yes. So, hi, sweet friend.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Breathe.
Kid at home with pneumonia. I'm getting over it. I pulled the bumper off the back of my car. Let's see, what else did I do? This morning as I was walking out the door, the fire alarm went off twice. Charlie got home last night from Chicago. He had the flu, came down with the flu on Saturday. But interestingly, how Spirit works, Miles, my youngest, they said he cannot get sick. Do not take him out. He cannot get sick. He has pneumonia. He's compromised. Okay, fine. So then Charlie comes down with the flu on Saturday in Chicago.
I know, it's crazy.
So I was on the phone because we couldn't get his
Make sure he's
fever
getting
down.
treatment. Right. The worry. The mom worry.
Well, it was, but I decided to do the Tylenol Motrin, that every 3 hours thing. So I would set my alarm and call him every 3 hours. But his buddies were so incredible. I mean, these teenagers just, I
That's
have
awesome.
the Pedialyte. I'll go get his medicine.
Aww.
They took him to the doctor. They were round the clock care.
Now,
So-
this was the debate team, so they all were already used to working as a team. That worked out perfectly.
Yeah, it was wonderful. So it's been a little bit chaotic in my house.
Let
So-
alone,
holidays.
being the holidays and they're home from school anyway.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Which now we're at that age where it's really, really fun. Everybody, we just enjoy it, and it's laid back. No homework, no sports, nothing. No schedule, which is nice. So
Just go with it.
just go with it. So
Yeah.
anyway, hi everybody. All right. So okay, tell me. You guys all know Sara. You can't not know Sara. We've done a lot together, and we've been friends now for years. I can actually say years now.
I know.
Isn't that cool? But it is. You lost your son, Adam, and you guys go back and check it out. If somehow you're new to this, welcome. Check out Sara's story. It is a beautiful story, very sad story, but you've walked through losing your child with grace, and just you have found the gems in this.
Well,
and
thank you.
Which is
All the nuggets. The nuggets I so desperately longed for, that I knew they were there. I just didn't know how to go about to retrieve them and pull them in. It was like pieces of me I had to pull back in. And that was part of my journey.
Oh, so Adam is with you now, and you say that you talk to him more now.
I talk to him more
Than you
now.
did
Before it was like waiting for a reply on text, right?
Yeah, it's like, come on, man.
Especially when he was younger, right? Because
Yeah.
you get worried about your child and they don't text you back and you think the worst.
Yeah.
And now I know he's safe. I know that's the ironic part of it.
Is that he's no longer in this form, but he's safe.
He's safe.
Yeah.
He's in full spirit form.
So how long ago did Adam cross?
In January, it will be 6 years. So I'm still in the 5th year.
Wow.
So the year of first was very, very difficult with the holidays, as you know, and that was one of the statements I even made out loud to my family in that first few days was, I don't know if I'll be able to make it through another Thanksgiving or Christmas. I remember saying that out loud in those first couple of weeks, even though it was going to be, this was January.
Yeah.
So it was something I already knew was going to be very impactful on my family because the placement changes, the dynamics change. And Michael and I were speaking about this before we started, that it's, you have your table setting, this is how it is. And then when you have a missing piece, it's just, you don't even know how to formulate. Like, should I leave the table setting? What, you know what I mean? We grieve differently. Mm-hmm. So that is the process, and that year of firsts, and for many, the seconds and the thirds, continuously. But I began to open up and be able to communicate and feel his presence immediately, but it took a lot of wobbling to get strengthen my beliefs and surround myself with like-minded people like you, and find the silver linings and understand that this was part of my life's plan. My soul's plan was to learn to grieve differently. This was part of my plan, even though Adam's death was an accident and it was a negligence, found negligent, that it was part of the grander plan that we all, when we're in our body form, we forget. We always say, oh, this is part of God's plan, but do you really know?
Right.
And so it was of me breaking down my walls and not being afraid to ask those difficult questions and search for answers that help fill my heart.
Difficult questions, such
As in, why did this accident happen? Why was this divinely orchestrated? We think about things being divinely orchestrated only when in a positive reference.
Right.
The angels came and helped. This. We
Moved
don't talk about
me off the tracks.
Right. Yeah. So it's almost like we feel like God is not present in our lives when something negative, what we deem negative, happened. Like, oops,
Right.
No one was watching out for him? Was he not? It's because of he wasn't worthy. He's full of sin or whoever.
That's
you could
one
go
that
the
kills
gamut,
me, which is, what did he do to deserve this?
Yes. And we don't. And so you have to really, really dig in there and clean up your own act so you can gain deeper understandings. It's kind of like, which we know, we all have junk drawers and closets full of things. So you can't fit new beliefs in with the old beliefs. Many of them will not blend. And many of those beliefs is kind of like, it's kind of like, we teach our children. We have to donate different toys or whatever else. You don't need 10 of one thing, right?
Right.
And so you've got to clear. It's a process of clearing, and a lot of people, it's very difficult because these are not things we were taught. At least I wasn't taught in my generation, and I was born in 1960. So that I was taught to accept whatever came in my path. That there was a bigger reason, but not to question it. So that came back to self-worth, self-deserving.
Right.
Speaking my piece, being able to verbalize, and being raised Catholic, I always felt that I couldn't ask questions. That no, priests can ask questions, but I can't ask Jesus myself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I often thought that. Can I just cut out the middleman and go directly to you?
Right, and that's part of mine is like teach other people how to communicate. Mm-hmm. Whether it is through hearing or seeing or all your senses and all your clairs, or just beautiful signs every day to encourage and uplift you.
That's exactly. There's so many things that you're saying that just really strike a nerve. And I was talking to somebody last night or yesterday in the book, like the book aisle at the bookstore, and this man was telling me that his mother had passed, and then he was telling me that someone else had passed, and he said, and it was just, I wondered, what did she do to deserve that? What did she do? And this is a man somewhat of like mine, and he's opening up, and he said, I just wanted to say, she didn't do anything. This may have been orchestrated for the benefit of you. You don't know. But then there's the next level, which is karmic. People say, oh, what did I do in a past life to karmically deserve this? Well, maybe it's not even that. Maybe you didn't do anything.
Right.
Maybe because, and I often say we don't learn when things are great and easy.
We learn
through the hard things, right?
Because it pushes us out of our comfort zone.
Yeah.
And so, and many of us were raised very in fears.
Well, that's that.
The fear of the unknown.
Well, it is the fear of the unknown. And I've often said, and I've often told you this, is that I remember the first time I met you, and you had walked through, Elisa had walked through my worst nightmare, which is losing a child. And I remember thinking, actually, I was telling this guy last night that I don't think it's just, it's the fear of going through the pain also. Because from what you and I know, we're already, I mean, we know what's on the other side. We may not know in clarity, but we know that I've seen it.
We can trust.
Exactly. And it's even beyond the shit, I hope this stuff is real, to,
right.
I know it's real.
I feel it.
I mean,
I feel
think,
it in my core.
Well, I'm not sure if I was telling you or Carrie that I was at a new friend's husband had passed, young guy, and they had a young child. And I found myself falling at the funeral into this, and like putting myself in that place and starting to go lower and lower. And she's beautiful, and this family is just beautiful. And I really thought, I would have loved to have known this guy because he sounds hilarious. I never actually got to meet him. And I thought, wait a minute, what am I doing? Why am I, let's take this higher view, which is every single person at this funeral is going to be at the front of the chapel at some point. None of us get out alive. Maybe by then, hopefully, we can just, kick it our own way. But none of us get out alive. And he just went home. I mean, yes, there's this big hole. But do you ever go back and forth between that? Because those are two one almost feels
Yes.
like I've unplugged from being human. And the other part of me, of course you're. Yeah.
The first couple of years, I really did. But then the more I practiced communicating, it shifted into my new normal. It's like integrating those higher energies. Mm-hmm. So I can say, because I'm not a wobbler. I haven't been for a long time.
You're not a wobbler.
I'm not a wobbler.
No, I'm actually amazed at how I'm a wobbler still.
Because I try to look a step above and look, what's the aerial view of the situation? And so that's the gift, because it's so easy to get sucked back into someone else's emotions, let alone your own deep ones. And that's your fears, right?
Sure.
That, this is not real. But that is part of the process of cleaning your closet. It's part of really the closet, cleaning their closet. And decluttering all those thoughts that are fear-based, or their beliefs that you picked up along the trail from someone else,
right,
that you thought were real, but they weren't.
It's interesting because that's, I think as the fears pop up and we look at the fears and we're willing to go into the fears, and it is interesting to follow the fear trail back to the trailhead of where did I get this? And as Tiff says, you go into the worst fear. And sometimes it's more, like we're saying, it's more of the fear of the unknown. I mean, not losing a child. There's no comparison. I mean, and this is not your only lifetime you've lost, Adam.
I know. That was part of my journey too, is when I started a deeper communication, was to start asking questions, and I was receiving answers, and it was like, oh, this is so exciting. How bizarre is that, right? Then I'm asking my son about dinosaurs and past lives. And
he's actually telling you?
Yes, it's like,
my feet are falling asleep.
Oh my gosh. Like, have I been living in a fog all my life? That's what it felt like. I was in this program that I never did these updates. You know what I mean?
I love the way you
I was
say
in
that.
granny mode, that kind of thing. And there's nothing wrong, because we all each have our own journey, but I needed to be catapulted, and that was mine. Mine was my son passing, was to, I want to know where you are, and I want to continue my communication, because why not? There's no one telling me I can't now at this point, because
Right. It's between you, and you. And I remember my grandfather's I think it was the very first funeral I went to. I think my grandfather, I was about 7. And I remember looking at him thinking, you were just here. I remember this clearly. It's like, you were just here. Where are you now? Like, you were just here. And that feeling, and I've had that every time I've ever gone. It's like, you were just here. Like, you got to be somewhere.
Right.
So, okay. So do you remember clearly that first year after Adam passed? That first Thanksgiving, Christmas?
It's blurry. I can go into it and go, I do. I can tell you funny things that happened too, but I celebrated as if he was still there. But yet my heart was yearning, because if it was just me by myself, seemed fine. But then bringing others in, everything was a trigger. Everyone's energy was a trigger, a memory, a Facebook post or a comment. Walking in the store with others, I would remember being in that store with that, all that stuff coming up. And then I kind of switched it and said, you know what? how do I know that that memory or that feeling or that thought is not Adam projecting it to me instead of me to him? So
Okay,
I
that's
tried
key.
to switch that around.
So
Instead
you
of me being
reframed it. So
yeah,
you
I
reframed.
it.
Yeah.
I tried to swirl higher and go, well, maybe he's the one that showed me the Adam seasoning in the grocery store, right? That it wasn't me accidentally coming across it. So that helped. But I'd already had a few readings. I started, my first reading I went to was 6 weeks after he passed. So I was already open to it.
Who did you go to?
It was at Marva's Psychic Fair across from the Galleria. And this is the funny backstory on this. Our family cat had passed a few years prior. And that was heartbreaking, as you know, with a family pet. And Amy was graduating that year. I had just a lot of things going on with the empty nester, but my cat was my child, too. That was almost like this was part of helping
Like
me.
Skittles, yeah.
Right? Yeah, like Skittles. And so I had contemplated going to an animal psychic at that point. But then I was like, I brushed it off, And so I was like, but I had the number written for Marva's Psychic Fair on a dry erase board like this one on the side of my refrigerator. But I'd left it on there for so long that when I erased it, you could still see the shadow and the number.
Yeah.
Okay? So then when Adam passed, once I kind of could sort through some of my thoughts to function, I remember that on my fridge, on the side of my fridge. So about 3 or 4 weeks into the grief, I said, I'm just going to check and see. There's a reason this is still on my dry erase board. And she still has that fair once a month.
Once a month?
Once a month in their banquet room. And I had
At
never
the
gone
JW? Where?
at a hotel, at La Quinta.
Oh, that's funny.
They rent it out. So, and there's neat stories since then too. But my niece drove me because I was in no shape or form able to drive on the freeways. And I had no expectations, which is a big one. To say, if I get one message out of the whole day, I'm game for it. It's worth it. And so I left and I told my close friends that I was going.
Did you feel weird about it?
I did, but yet I knew I needed to. There was this push
Yeah.
that I could share it with so many people. Because I already believed in Teresa Caputo and Sylvia Brown and many of the big ones. But it wasn't, it was out here. It was still out here. It wasn't in my heart yet. And so I went to the first session, and I had 3 20-minute readings, and 2 were mediums. Another one was just reading my energy. The first one, I don't think of his name, if I would have asked before. He's out of Dallas, and I remember him. He closed his. I had no idea. I thought it was going to be like Whoopi Goldberg, and Ghost. He closed his eyes and held my hands, and then he said, "That watch you have on, this is a young male's," and I had Adam's watch on purposely. I wasn't trying to trick, but I didn't know what to expect. I really did not know, but I was open to it. So that's the cool part of when you go for a reading. You got to be open to whatever, because the medium is going to bring through whatever they receive and whatever you need, not really what you want.
Right.
It's just a need. So, and he gave me several validations of my dad's initial, my father-in-law's, and all these who had greeted him when he passed. And then he blurted out, and he goes, because this is just 20 minutes, and he said, all I'm hearing is him saying is, do not sell the motorcycle. Do not sell the motorcycle. I don't know what this means, but and it was like, ding, ding. And so then I waited for my next session. They have everything on timers. It's a little it's like a craft show. You're walking into a craft show with these tables set up is what it's like. It was really cool.
Go.
It was really cool and enlightening, and it opened up so many doors, misunderstandings and beliefs I had on it. But and then the other woman who I'm still friends with, and she is in my Facebook group, who is still a medium, and since then has moved to Colorado, not too far from where Adam's accident happened. And so she told me validations, too, about his boots, which is the new boots he had on that he bought a few hours prior to the accident, and different things like that. So it was like my whole world flipped from the moment I parked in that parking lot to the moment I left. It was like I felt like I was like 40 pounds lighter just in grief. But then I had to process all that. When you have your first reading,
It takes a while.
It takes a while because you can only get what you can understand.
Right.
So a lot of it it takes layers, or you might wake up 4 nights later and something you have an aha moment. So it put me on the path. Well, if they can do it, I can do it. That's what it came down to.
It's true.
So that's how I approached it. I said,
But you didn't get. I know so many people because I know that I typically don't go to mediums, and if I do, I'm curious. It's more. I used to get nervous, like, oh, you're gonna tell me something I don't want to hear.
right. I used to think that at first, like oh my
I
God,
don't
they're
wanna
going to
know.
know all my dark secrets. No.
I know they're gonna something's coming down the pipe. No, but it was and it's a rush, and especially that
The first one.
first time,
First one, second
because
one,
all of
yeah.
a sudden you're like, oh, there's no way, and then you start going through it thinking, okay, did I have something? Did I have something on? Did I have something that gave it
Right.
away?
You're trying to rationalize it.
Trying to fit it into your current paradigm, and it just doesn't quite fit. But then when you realize you can't, like the first time I spoke with Emma, I mean, I say this all the time. It was, I have Joe, Mama Joe, my grandmother. I have Ruth. I mean, do you know there's somebody, Ruth, her father speaks German. They're German. I have Jessie here. I'm like, Jessie? That's Mama Joe's mother. And it's like, yeah, well, apparently she's not crossing. And I mean, no way she could have known. And I didn't know Emma at this point. And you truly are like, it goes from that realm of, yeah, I'm pretty open to this stuff to, holy shit, this stuff's real.
It feels like
you know?
someone just pulled the carpet right underneath your feet.
In a
That's what it
great
feels-
way.
In a great
and then
way.
you're like, I can do flips. This is really great.
It's like,
And
it's like you pulled the Wizard of Oz curtain.
that's exactly right. But then I think a lot of us get stuck in that place of, because I do firmly believe that we all have gifts. And
Oh, yes.
they may not look like Emma's gift, or they may not look, some people like, I'm much better at, I can read energy more than I can get. I don't get names. I get faces or like little pictures, but that's about it. And so you have to be open to what it looks like and what your gift is and where you naturally go. Like the fellow that I met yesterday, I said, man, you read energy. He said, I do. And because he was telling me that when people cross, he feels it right before they cross, and all of a sudden he can't breathe and his heart feels weird. I'm like, yeah, you're kind of a medical intuitive, I think. But he thinks it's supposed to look a certain way. So anyway, so the fact.
Yeah, that's a biggie.
Yeah. And I think with you not getting stuck in that place of, I want to go seek it outside. Because why is it that I can create a piece of art and it's like, I don't know if I like it or not. I can never tell if I like it, because if you made it, I'd love it. But if I make it, I'm not really sure
like
if
a
I
recipe.
trust my
That's right.
yeah,
It's
if
like
I
a
trust
recipe.
my interpretation. So, and I think that's why a lot of people do seek that out, is that to trust the interpretation or to trust someone else more so than what you get. And I want to talk to you too about how. Because I know that so many of us get things and we don't even know that we're getting them.
Right.
That it's just who we are.
Everyone gets it. Everyone's getting downloads and thoughts and inspirations, and everyone
can't.
is.
It's like,
they're not connecting the
up?
dots.
Exactly.
They're just not connecting the dots until something happens. Then they can reflect. Taking time out to reflect, and then you go, or someone else says something, and you have
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So, the perfect example of this, and this is a very overt black and white example. So David, our buddy that had a brain tumor, hi David, if you're on, he said that before he knew that he had one, he said, I'd lay down and the color would just drain out of my eyes and everything would turn black and white. It's like, honey, should you have known that there was something weird going on? But you just don't know, A, that other folks don't experience that, or B, that, you can rationalize things. So when I get things, I don't know that I'm getting them.
yes, that. Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, so
don't.
kudos to you
So
for
really, it's
doing your own path.
It was a process, and I had several readings in the beginning, but I would just go in for like a 20-minute or 30, just to kind of lift me up, and then I would expand on it on my own too, though.
How so?
Take that message, and say, okay, like Debbie told me, this would really help me in the beginning of that first Christmas, was she gave me a message and she said, well, Adam's saying to, use his boots as Christmas stockings, and I just got like all these ideas. It just like,
You're so creative anyway.
so I thought, well, I can do that, because I was dreading the first angelversary in January.
Yeah.
It's like, how am I going to get through this? Oh, I have to figure out ways myself how to get through this, because I didn't know how I was going to get through it, right?
Okay, but can I go into that real quick? I know I'm cutting you off. It again is part of that anticipating the fear and the not the fear, the pain. It's the
really
fear
the
of the
anxiety
pain.
of before. It's
Yeah.
because we think the worst and feel the worst, as we know that anxiety.
Yeah. And so it's like I don't want to go through that. I don't want to go through a Christmas because I know it's going to tear me up.
Yes.
So is it?
It's almost like you.
It's like a haunted house. It's
It
more
is.
like the
It
anticipation.
is the
Don't pop
anticipation.
out.
It's the anticipation.
Yeah.
Because my family surrounded me for Christmas Day,
Yeah.
which was wonderful, and it was humorous. And then I remember getting messages from Adam later talking about the fudge, the 3 pounds of fudge I ate, and different things or whatever. You know what I mean? So it made it like, okay, he wasn't just stopping in; he was here.
He was with us.
He was here. Because a lot of people think that, oh, they're just coming by, or I haven't got, if they recognize a sign, they think that is the only time they're there.
Right. It's a flyby. Can I tell you though, my grandmother, when my grandmother died, I had a hard time connecting with her, and then I can see people cross, but after that I have to work really hard for it. And I was at the doctor. I was in New Braunfels, and I was at the doctor, and I had to wait forever because it was sort of a clinic type place. And I was sitting in the room waiting, and I'd been there a long time, so I took out my little pad and I started writing, and that's how I connect. And she's like, "Carrie Ann," and she was sitting at a table, her dining room table, but it's almost like being on a stage, and everything around was black, like being on a stage. Mm-hmm. And she was sitting there, and she showed me these vignettes, and she was showing me how it's like how she sees me and how she sees everyone, and it's like she's just sitting at this table watching everybody, and she can kind of tune in, but so that's what I wanted to tell you, is that's how she would come through, and right before, and how I trusted what I got, that I wasn't just wishful thinking, is she said, "Carrie Ann, the doctor's here," and 2 seconds later he walks
Right?
in.
Isn't that cool?
And I was like,
I love
"Oh,
it.
Thank you, Mom."
I did that with, and that's really been fun. That's been a fun ride. We've all watched The Matrix, the original one.
Yeah, that's good.
So remember when Neo walks into the kitchen, smells the cookies, and then hits the vase? And it's like, I want to do that. I want to know before the vase falls.
That's your, yeah.
So Adam always usually buzzes me with energy or something when I'm going to like stump my toe. It doesn't prevent it from happening, by all means.
Heads
But
up, Mom.
like if I'm going to drop a glass, I will get a buzz of energy, and it's like, okay, what's going to happen? And I'll drop something or do something or whatever. But I think that is so cool because it's already happened. We can't prevent that. See what I mean?
That's interesting. Mm-hmm.
The energy's already been pushed out. So just dabbling, find things that interest you, whether it is the chakra balancing, whether it's galactic beings, whatever it is, it's going to open up another pathway because you're clearing out old beliefs around it. You're clearing out your drawer, you're clearing out your closet so you can think differently.
I'm laughing because last night, if that fella in the bookstore said one time, he said it 50 times, balancing my chakras. I really want to learn how to balance my chakras, balance my chakras.
Isn't
And
that
so that's
funny?
the first thing you said. Yeah. So how though? So I want to. How did you? I'm going back to that because no one has ever answered it in a way that I hear it. How did you trust what you get?
Really, it was practice too.
Yeah,
you
but
get to
practice.
the point. Well, I get to the point where I was so vulnerable that I had to be so vulnerable.
And you
If
wanted
want
to
to call
believe?
it surrender, whatever.
Yeah.
I needed to believe. Not that someone else didn't easily influence me. I still had to work on my own strength, so other people wouldn't influence. Like you feel so good about something, and then someone else knocks you off, or
Yeah.
you're back to school again, telling you you're wrong or whatever. But that was really,
Oh, honey, I
had to
believe
come-
you believe
right?
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe you believe it, and then you go through that stage of like you want to share it with everybody because your strength. You know what I mean? Like I got to share it with everybody, and then you realize no, everyone has their own
Right,
beliefs.
right,
You
right.
can't do that.
Right.
Just like you don't want people preaching to you about politics. You can't. You know what I mean? You got to trust and you really have to go in and feel the energy of everything.
Right.
When it feels right, you feel centered, then you know. When you feel off, like if I'm about to say something and I feel like, I shouldn't say it.
Right.
But
Then you
other
really
people
should
just
hold
go,
I'm going to say it anyway because I think you need to hear it.
Right.
I need to hear that you're not nice.
It's really kind of like slowing down and being present. But speaking of presence, as far as the holidays, there's no right way, no wrong way. If this is your first year, second year, third year, even a heavy grief, if you just say, forget this, I don't even want to put a tree up, that's okay too.
Honor that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Honor where you are.
But truly, they do want you to be happy. I used to hate that line. They want you to be happy. They want you to move forward. And it was like, I didn't know how to be happy or move forward without him in my life. It's not that I didn't want to. I didn't know how to.
Right.
So that was really of me really going in and journaling and talking and trying different things with the Reiki, learning different tools and modalities and coming up with my own recipes that worked for me.
Well, and we had said this, I started it before, but my squirrels got in the way. So you have had multiple lives where you have gone through this, and it's like, okay, let's do that again.
Yeah, that
All
was
right,
a big
let's
one
do
that helped
again.
me because I didn't even.
Well, tell what happened. Like you've lost Adam in a past life.
Yes,
and you didn't
two
handle
or
it
three.
well.
Two. I can really go in deep into, and that's learning how to meditate because you can go into anything you want to. You can, if you're really focused, you can go wherever, and that's fun because you got your own built-in like
I've done it with
VR
Elvis.
system, right?
You really do. Oh, VR. I need to get
Okay.
Carrie the VR. Okay.
So when Adam, this is probably about a year and a half, and I'm guessing because it's all mixed together, learning about different lives because I was just curious, like if we were spirit before we came into this life, and we're spirit when we return without the physical, needing the physical vehicle. It's like, well, what were we doing in other lives? Because I kept hearing this was in our first time, and it's like, okay, this kind of takes that edge off a little bit if I know that we've had other lives together.
Right.
That I can't put ownership on him, right? And so the couple lives, and I could pull out my journals to get all the details, but one was I caused the accident.
Oh, ouch.
Where he died.
Was he your child?
He was my child. So the two I'm going to refer to is when he was my child. There were other ones where
Different roles.
roles, which kind of helps you see the world differently when you see you've played other roles, like a spouse
play.
with them, right? And then you won't take it so personally, too, as weird as that sounds. And so in one life, too, where he did die in another tragic way, and grief haunted me where I was self-inflicted. One, I ended my life. One, I believe it was alcohol. I just consumed myself and became a, recluse. So this is an opportunity for me to do it differently and progress, spiral higher, to see the broader view and go, I've learned from those lives, even though I didn't recognize it prior to Adam passing. But having that's why I love doing past life readings too. It brings it all up, and then you can go, now I know where that feeling's coming from. Why I feel like I'm being pushed to do it differently. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's almost like it's just an inner knowing. You don't know where. We're just used to not wanting to know where everything comes from.
Yeah.
Because we're raised that way, right? Everything has to fit a certain way.
I think we were born that way.
Yeah. And so that really helped push me to look at life differently, to grieve differently, and to, what is it? Oh, I just heard pursuit of happiness. Figure out what makes each of us individually happy, because that's how we help heal each other and heal the world.
Because it starts local. I love
Starts
that.
local.
And it is, well, and I think too, I often, well, do you think you were on like a hamster wheel until you got it right? Or
think
until
so.
you were okay with it?
At least with that particular spiral of that pattern.
Mm-hmm.
I probably have all kinds of other patterns going on in different lives of other things too, right?
Sure.
I was talking about blonde hair for whatever reason. I don't know why. I think just came up with patterns of blonde hair.
Might be time to get my hair done. I actually just did. Look how dark they look.
But yes, I think these are some of these patterns we have just you and I are recognizing this life.
Mm-hmm.
But then we can go back and go,
I know where that one came from.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I love so much about Ainsley MacLeod's work, Mr. McLeod. You have to come on the show. He is the most incredible man, and he bypasses the regression part and goes directly to your guides. And I have worked with him because when things pop up in this life, oftentimes it's a trigger.
Yeah.
And it's a trigger from a past life. And they come up at different times because obviously if you have your first child, that was the first time I talked to him. I was having some stuff and it was just fascinating because he zeroed in on it, and it was, you couldn't deny it. I mean, some of the stories, he said, oh yeah, okay, so they're showing me this lifetime set back in England and da-da-da-da-da, and he just goes right into it, and he said, and that's the trigger. But what I love about his work too, and also go to his website. He has a quiz on his website that is phenomenal, and it's Ainsley, Ainslie McLeod, McLeod. He's a Scottish man, very gentle, lovely soul, and I've had the good fortune to actually meet him and his wife, and anyway, but you come in with these traits. Because if I'm shy, horribly shy, well, then I'm not going to be in front of a microphone right now. And so you come in with these traits that serve your life's purpose. And anyway, his books are wonderful. He just came out with a third book. So I'm sorry to plug him, but I really love his work. But it is very much that you start seeing these patterns. Like he said, oh, well, he didn't know me from a hole in the wall. Where did that come from? Where did that
just
term
heard hole
come
in
from?
the wall.
Hole in the wall. He and he said, fabric. You lived in France and you have an issue with your left foot. I do. I have a bunion. I hate that word.
Right.
I do. And he said, and you like fabric and you stole fabric and they hobbled your feet.
That's what I say. I felt like a club foot is what it feels like.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, I'm a hoarder of fabric. I love fabric. I'm always collecting it, and I like vintage
where
fabric.
it comes from.
I do, and anyway, so there are a lot of really interesting things. But that was the origin story of my stutter.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing is, like, I stood up the second time. I stood up to defend myself, I believe, and when I did, it didn't go so well, and so I was killed, and then coming back, it's sort of like different times that I stand up to talk, your soul can't really differentiate between a chapter in a book versus the whole book. So it says, sit down, last time you did that, you got us killed. And oftentimes, just by knowing that, it triggers it out.
Yes.
I mean, like the triggers, it's like, oh,
It's bringing
we don't
awareness
have to do
to
that
it.
anymore.
I know,
Yeah.
isn't that cool?
I know.
But to make it fun, all of you can do this to a certain level and extent on your own, but it really is like an eye-opener to go, oh my God, now I see why. It wasn't just I picked up this trait or pattern from my mother. It was from way back.
It was when I was her mother's mother.
Right,
And,
right.
And who knows? And yeah, it is really, really fun.
It is fun to go in there, and it helps you recognize, helps you step out of yourself. Mm-hmm. That's the cool part. Because
And you
once you
accept
can
yourself.
step out of yourself and see things differently and why these things are happening for you, not to you,
Bingo.
it changes it. It
Well,
changes the
you're
whole
not a
game.
victim.
You're not a victim.
I think that's been the biggest lesson. I had a friend of mine, I'm not going to go into the story for fear that people know who it is, but I had a friend of mine a long time ago, and she came back into my life at one point, and our roles were so strong that I found myself thinking, I started thinking, I don't deserve my life. She deserves my life. Why isn't she where I am? Why doesn't she have a wonderful husband? I mean, I just found myself going down this weird rabbit hole, and it was so perfect because it's like, oh, I know why, because I get up at 5:30 to make lunches, and days I don't feel good, I still have to go watch 6 kids and take them on this. And,
Right.
you know, oh, wait a minute. But it was this, she was very, very much stuck in this victim, and it's not an insult to her. It's just, that was the first time I'd ever seen the difference between life happens for you versus life happens against you. And I kept trying to, oh, what if you did this? You know, I can be a helper when people don't really want help, and then it becomes annoying, and I've really tried to stop that. But it was, I don't know, she liked being in that role because then people would take care of her.
Yeah.
And I was taking care of her, and I was trying to help and trying to do these different things. And that's when I thought, I don't want to be a victim anymore. I don't want to be a victim.
Yeah.
And I want to go into why I feel this way. And whether it's your health or your marriage
Whatever it is.
or your best friend or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So-
right. So it's huge undertaking. But see, if we're all breaking our power, because I believe that we're all a little bit of each other, right?
Sure.
So this is if we're all working and waking up and realizing this is happening for us to help break this pattern, so it frees us spiritually, frees our spirit. That's how we heal the world.
That's exactly right.
Take responsibility for everything in your life.
So
be proactive. Yeah.
Carrie said something one day. Carrie Mena, yes, and we talked about this at the event. And I'm sorry to talk for her. Sorry, Carrie, but I'm going to because it fits here. It is. Or she's very vocal about, not very vocal, but she is open about her relationship with her mom. And sometimes that, that's a really tricky one anyway, a lot of times. And she said, and I love this idea of think about the person in your life that maybe you've had the most rub with. And what if they have to downplay who they are in order to play that role in your life?
Yep. We all have them in our lives.
Sure, we do. And
I like to post readings and channelings about that because the ones who push our buttons are helping us to progress.
Well, and then there are folks you meet, there's just nothing. Like you just get to enjoy. Like you, I just get to enjoy. I just enjoy you. And I love that. And it's so drawing us back into the holidays. So I feel that there's this pressure that we put on ourselves that the holidays are supposed to look a certain way. And we have this preconceived notion of perfection. And I want it to be ideal and everybody will get along. I keep thinking, so I'm sorry, I'm going to say this because it keeps popping up. I just remember going to Disney World. I hate Disney World. I remember going and it was crowded and it was hot and it would rain and it was the summer and it was just packed. And I swear you would see these mamas and it's like, you're just spending so much money. And it's like, when the kids are crying, it's like, you will have fun. It's like, we're paying all this money and we're in the happiest place on earth. Damn it.
Expectations.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the way I feel about holidays oftentimes, is that it's like we put all of this on ourselves and we put so much we invest, and by the end everybody's exhausted. You feel like you've overeaten, you've over imbibed, you've overspent, and
the joy
and
is
that's
gone.
just
yeah.
without losing somebody or without going through a divorce or without whatever big catalyst. But I do have to say though, off but kind of on, I was doing research on this and I was wondering if suicides were higher. Do you know they're actually lower during, ironically, right? I mean,
that is ironic because depression is, we know depression because you don't even have to have a death in your family to get for holidays to bring up depression because you feel the lack of everything, right?
But you know what I think that is? I think it is this idea that, oh, look at Carrie and Sara, they're up in spring and they're having a wonderful time and they're Christmas caroling and
the illusion.
I'm not, or this idea that everybody else is having this big family gathering and, they're not fighting and getting drunk and
Norman Rockwell's portrait, I don't think was accurate.
No, at least everybody's on some sort of mood enhancer.
It was more like the Christmas Story, right? Where the dogs came in and tore apart the turkey and they go out for Chinese food.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But that's just rolling with it. And so and so I think doing holidays differently. I think that so this year in our family we are doing the holidays differently. The first time I talked to Emma, she said your higher self says that you are bringing in, like, you have a huge family, and I do. And my parents got divorced, and it, again, tragic. But then my dad's wife, my bonus mom, is incredible, and her family, and my stepdad, my bonus dad, and his family. I mean, it's like I just have this huge family, and there are times when we're all together. And I mean, I think time does that. I think time has a way of healing a lot of things, and but this year, instead of trying to get 35 people together, we have decided to do it differently.
You do it too.
We're doing two, and everybody's happy about it. And so, and it was letting go of what it's supposed to be to let it evolve into what it is. And it doesn't mean anyone loves anyone less. And
that's right.
It's just perfect.
Yeah, that was a big one too. Was like, well, we talked about this earlier about it has to be on a certain day. No. You can celebrate any day you want. So if you can't be with your family member that's across the country, you can Skype with them even if you want
Yeah,
to.
we've done
It
that,
doesn't
yeah.
have to be. So this new generation, this younger generation, will be doing it differently because we're all sharing our ways of doing it differently.
Right.
Whatever
I
it
love
is.
that.
So it's not impounded in us. Because my daughter, her traditions are going to be totally different than my generation, let alone my parents' generation. And save the turkeys, right?
I'm not even a turkey fan. I don't even like turkey. I do like turkey, but I don't like turkey. But it's you're right, and it's what would so for you, not what would your ideal be, what would bring you just that feeling of just having fun? Like what would make you look forward to Christmas with how things are now?
Things are now. I would love to have my granddaughter over for the day. Would be ideal.
That would be fun.
Because being around children just livens you up anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think just watching comedies.
Mm-hmm.
That is a big one for me.
Before
Humor was
Christmases.
huge for me. And then applying humor into your own life. Not
Right.
just observing it, but pulling it in. I think just to sit and I enjoy cooking. I do.
You're a baker too,
And I love to
you're a good
bake.
baker.
I'm going to make pies this week. So I think just being and watching comedy and just being with my close friends or close family, that I'd be happy right there.
That sounds wonderful. That sounds
Simple.
wonderful. That is, we are. Yeah, I like that. So we'll have to. We're getting together.
We are.
We're gonna do a metaphysical mom's dinner, like a Christmas dinner. Anyway, so I agree with that. I mean, that's exactly how I'd want to spend mine too.
And just for you to enjoy your kids.
Yeah, yeah, I do though.
You know,
I do for the most part.
the smells, the noises that come from them, just enjoy it.
I just bought a sign that says, "Please flush the toilet." It is. No, I so every year Charles does make, and that is it too. I think when you lose somebody, that is one of the things that I've read is that be open to starting new traditions.
New traditions and appreciate all the quirks.
Well, this year flu. I mean,
Just appreciate it because if you go with the flow, then if you don't have the resistance, you don't have the angst.
no, that's true. Yeah, that's
Right?
exactly right. That it's supposed to be the certain way. Well, that is. So we're supposed to go to my brother's on Thanksgiving, and which will be really fun. But I can't take a kid with the flu, and I can't take Well, I think Miles is on the upswing, and my mother-in-law's coming down, and can't. I
Right.
don't want her to come down and get the flu, though he's been quarantined to the back of the house. So it'll be. So we're having to roll with it. Charles said, "Well, maybe we just get takeout." I'm like, I like that idea.
Yeah, that's a good
I
idea.
I really want to
Right.
see my brother, but at the same time, yeah.
Or sporting events. I've done that with going to like a Rockets basketball
They have
game.
a
I've done
Rockets
that.
game on Thanksgiving.
Christmas. Yeah, we've done all different things just to say, okay, I've got something to look forward to.
Yeah.
So I'm not looking at Facebook posts or, reminiscing like that way.
And I also know that everybody else it's not always what you think it is on the other side. Well, should we open up the line?
Yes.
See if anybody has any questions?
Sure.
All right. So we do. If you guys would like to give us a buzz and pop in and say hi, we're going to try to limit the calls to a few minutes. But here is our number, 936-585-4627. Again, that's 936-585-4627. That's probably should.
Here, the line, the wireless just went down for a second, so give me a couple minutes.
Okay.
to get it back up.
Okay,
We
so
can keep talking.
just give them a couple minutes to because
Okay.
we're something just happened with our wireless line.
Okay.
No, but so I'm gonna talk about what we're thinking about doing or what I. So I sent the girls a note, and I'd like to do a live. Or maybe maybe not live. Anyway, a show, and it's Metaphysical Moms, and we're all getting together. Some of the crew that's here in Houston, we're going to get together and have a fun dinner at my house, and either make a show or do it live and kind of get to hang out with everybody.
Yeah,
So
it's gonna be so much fun,
I think it is gonna be fun. I think it'll be really fun.
and we're making new memories.
We're making new memories. That's exactly right. I wonder why it did go. Okay, so should we say hi? Hi, Jesse James.
Hi, Jesse.
Hi, Mitch.
JJ.
Hi, buddy Mitch.
Hi, Mitch.
Here, I'm gonna put this over here, so you can see it too. And for some reason, mine stopped playing.
What that one? It froze up. Yeah.
Oh, I think the chat's disconnected. That's interesting. All right.
Okay.
Are we still?
There might be a question on there.
Let's see. Okay, so let me put my glasses on so I can
Still
see.
live, it's just the wireless.
It's just the wireless. Okay.
This.
So regarding handling the holidays, people are going to be asking different questions on far as grief. You know, if you want to, I would start new traditions. For me, I started new traditions with Adam. You know, whether it's, I even asked his friends to participate in the first year. I decorated his headstone with garland, and then asked those friends who would like to put an ornament out there and attach it to the garland, which was a great concept for me. Many of them brought fireball shots, you know, whiskey, other than the ornaments. So I do different things. I feel the nudge to get, because I love creativity and decorating and crafts. So I feel the nudge to do things differently that way. And I decorate his boots, and I make a little boots. Yeah, his boots, and fill them with some of his favorite. I share that in the group. I decorate it every year and put some of his favorite foods in, and different things.
No internet.
Should be connected, but we're back up on the Skype machine. So
Okay.
we can call.
So being creative and using tools to be able to communicate. When you're deep in grief, it's much harder to feel the connection. They're there. It's just much harder when you're in grief because that's a very heavy emotion.
Because you're lower
It's like-
energetically, and you have to bring that up to meet them.
Yeah, it's like being in an argument with someone. You just it's very difficult just to snap out of it. So you have to, you know, focus on your changing your thought patterns. There's another pattern to look at. You know, are you the type that wants to have the last say in everything?
Have you ever noticed when you text somebody and you're like, okay, thanks, great, it's nice to hear from you, and then they say something back and you're like, okay, well, wonderful, I'll see you next week, and then they say something back, and it's like, how long are we going to do this? And then I always just try to end it with a heart or something, and then they
Yes.
end it with a heart, and I'm like, okay, yeah.
We're done.
I guess that means I'm the one doing it.
It's a great way to go in and change your thoughts around it and say, well, okay, I know he's not here physically, but I can communicate with him, and ask for signs and be open to the signs. A lot of times the signs they're right smack dab in front of you, but if you are in a heavier emotion, you don't even see them. I mean, there could be a rainbow out this window, and without us peeking, we wouldn't
You're
even
not
know.
going to, you're not going to see it.
So that is a process. It's a daily process. Life is a daily process.
Well, it is, and I think you make a really great point, though. So when you're able to find, and maybe happiness, maybe peace is just too far gone. I mean, it's just too far of a stretch. But if you're able to find that, at least something that's higher than sorrow and pain. I mean, what would you say that is? I mean, how would you rate?
Because we go through right, we go up and down. Grief is like finicky. It's like a roller coaster, right? It goes all over the place until you can kind of even out and kind of foresee how it's, and be able to avoid different things if you want, or to spin different, like for different things. Sometimes it's in your face, and what I have learned too, that you'll get these triggers on purpose from the universe. For it's like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened again. Well, it happened again on purpose. Why?
Right, almost to desensitize or.
Like Adam was struck by a piece of heavy machinery. That's how he passed. So even in those first few months, I would just like cringe when I'd see one, you know, in the side of the road. And then it got to the point where I could feel Adam and talk to him, and he'd say, look over there. To let me know that it wasn't just the equipment. This was part of the plan.
Mm-hmm.
So that wouldn't be my trigger. So you wouldn't associate it and avoid it.
Right. And that's and you said that he did have several, like if it wouldn't have been that, it would have been something else.
Yes.
So that was
And that
was
really
a jumping
helped.
off
That
point.
really helped too. And he even came into my husband's dream. He had a dream visitation with him, because you know we all process it different. When you're in a group dynamic, right? You're going to bounce off each other. And the dream visit was, had he been working for the electric company, our local one here in Houston, he showed him his death of being electrocuted. And then my husband running up to the scene. So it was just,
Wow.
so Adam had, his purpose was for us to help create change,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So no matter how accident was going to happen, it was going to be something as a platform for us.
And for others.
But it was just, it was the divinely of all the energies coming together for that split second.
Well, and it takes it away from you that there's something you could have done. There's something you could have said.
A lot
There's
of
something you
people
could have.
cycle in those thoughts.
Oh yeah. I mean, I remember laying in bed when the boys were really younger. They were really young, and Charles would take them somewhere, and they'd all four go somewhere, and I'd lay there, and it's like, what if they didn't? You know, what if they were in a car wreck? What if I? And truly, the guides came and said, take that from her. Finally, I mean, it just went away because that fear was so strong, and that if I didn't let them go, would I've avoided that accident?
Right.
Or
It's that control thing as a mommy.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a biggie.
Okay, so Michael, we're back up.
Yep.
Okay. All right, guys.
Do we have time for like one caller?
I know. Well, we can do a couple. Okay, so 936-585-4627, and it's on the bottom of the screen. See, it's just right there. Okay. So Susan Snyder, I love Susan. She said she saw her own, I guess you guys can read this too, her own pre-birth planning during a hypnosis session, quite unexpectedly. Learned that I actually planned challenges in my life and gave myself the opportunity for soul growth. Completely changed how I see things in life.
Yeah.
That's exactly, I mean, I think that's exactly what it is. It's like, and then you meet people and you're thinking,
You're like,
didn't that sound so easy on that side? And you come to
Right.
this side.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good for you.
She's wonderful. She always has time for a kind word. We have nice people. We have really nice people.
Because we pull in, we attract.
Well, I like that thought.
Yeah,
but
right.
Yes.
The energy we put out is what comes back in.
Anybody want to talk?
If not, we'll just continue talking.
We'll just keep.
We'll
I
talk
did-
about fruitcake. Nah.
I don't like fruit.
Nah.
It reminds me that it should be in a house with sofas with plastic on them.
Right. Well, there's a place in actually in Colorado. I think it's outside Colorado Springs, matter of fact, where they take, like in February, they take the old fruitcake and then they have like a throwing contest. It might even be on a catapult now I think about it. There we go. Sorry. We have a caller.
Hello.
Hey there. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
How you doing, honey?
I'm doing great. Are we live?
Yep.
Oh boy. Okay.
How are you doing, Mitch?
Hi, Mitch.
I'm doing. Hello, Sarah. How you guys doing?
We're doing
Good to
great.
see you there.
Michael asked how you were and how the show did. He's like, that was just such an interesting show.
Oh yeah, Mike. That was a really great show. There's been really great feedback on that show. This show that you're doing right here is very, sensitive in nature to me as well, and to many of us veterans that have spent many years traveling and missing the holidays, and then also losing teammates and stuff like that. And we've talked about some of this, and I'm really glad that you're talking about this. It's very important. It's critical information.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I do. I work with a lot of people who were in the service and lost a lot of their brothers, and can receive messages from them. Kind of like it's almost like a validation that if one or two that they speak to, then they realize all of them.
Oh, the whole gang is there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jamie really helped me with that too when the teammates come forward. But I guess the thing that I wanted to ask you and to share with other people is that, like, for those of us in the military who've experienced these losses during these holidays, we tend to shut down on these holidays, and I want to unshut down. There's so much more love to be shared with in the now, and I'm still struggling with trying to, one, get away from the capitalistic nature of the holidays, and two, bring the love and joy back into it because of so many years of missing the holidays with my daughter, and then having parents pass away during those holidays, or a child, Sarah in your case, and even now I just, of course, Carrie, I feel like crying, of course, but
It's okay.
but if you could share the thought processing, how I process through the chemical behavior of the brain scientifically, what's happening there, and maybe share some of the different visual imagery or meditations or processes that we could bring the joy back into it.
Yep. Sure.
Because I'm struggling myself as I get closer to when my dad passed away. he hung on just for the New Year, just through Christmas, and then
Right.
pop.
So you have
he's
that
gone.
trigger. So
Yeah.
there's many multiple ways, and I know that you have many layers, because of your
Yeah.
background. And
Yeah.
being first you have to truly, truly know in your heart that they continue to live on, because we still see them as absent or void in our lives. So when we still
got that,
feel
yeah.
that, it's going to pull us backwards. So you've got to really work on your belief system, and meaning what you say and what your beliefs are. So if you say that,
Right.
that they're gone or they're lost, or et cetera, you're going to believe it. Your body's going to believe it, and you're going to not feel that they're there. But I would honor, because I know you're great with meditation and with your crystals, is to come up with a new way to connect with your dad. And your dad will give you ideas of what to do, whether this is a toast of champagne or whatever this is, that you can
Yeah.
honor him. See what I mean? So come up with a new
Yeah.
tradition that's just between you and your dad.
It's
Okay.
like create new memories. I think we talked about that before.
Yes, create a new memory with him, because you can. So many people think that
Yeah.
you can't, or that it's
Yeah, yeah.
wrong or whatever. So create a new memory with him. But I'm getting like a toast of some sort with him. So
Yeah.
so that's what you're going to do, and then you add on to it, and then go, oh yeah, now I got this. I'm inspired to do this, this, and this, and now I'm going to write a letter to him, as if. Because
Yeah.
it's like writing a letter to Santa. We teach our kids to do that, right? So
Yeah.
you're
Say
gonna.
it, think it, write it. It becomes. Yeah.
Yep. So, or you can verbalize it, because you're great. Write a letter to him, have a toast, and see what you get back from him. I know you're going to get this
Right.
download, and you're going to go, I'm having a two-way conversation with him. He's not
Right.
gone. He's not lost. And you can do this with all your fallen brothers, with whomever you want to. And
Right.
you can communicate with your daughter's higher self too.
Right. I'd like to share also that understanding the chemical process in the brain.
Yes.
I do this as well. I mean, when we talk about different trauma and PTSD and stuff like that, understanding how the body reacts to this thought processing and trying to flip it from a negative to a positive, which is just what you just said.
Yeah.
And create new memories. I mean, we're way, way, way past my dad. It's not really an issue, but as they come around, it's more for anybody listening right now that
Yes.
it can be done.
Okay.
And
so-
I appreciate what you guys are doing here. you
Yeah.
know.
Well, thank you. So yeah, creating new memories, because who's to say you
Right.
can't?
Right. Yeah, it's just really, you can. You can.
But
Absolutely.
it's
Yeah,
our
absolutely.
initiation that we have to move forward to do that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much.
You're
and,
welcome.
And that's what I got. I appreciate
We'll have
what
a
you got.
blessed week.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys too.
Yeah.
Bye, sis.
Bye. That's such a great point. And I think I love what he said. I mean, that's what really stuck with me, is that idea that how do you flip it from a negative to a positive?
Everything in life.
That's true.
Everything.
Yeah, but the grief is a really, really big
Grief
one.
is a hard one, but I mean, if we can learn to do it in everyday life,
Mm-hmm.
then it won't be such a. You know what I mean? Many of us are programmed. Everything has to be
Right.
timely, like you getting here on time or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're so used to that. If you can just go, okay, I've got to create new ways of doing it and go with the flow. And then you won't fall back and say, well, in 1990, no, you're going to say, last year, I remember doing this. So that was another big one. I don't know if we did bring it up. That when you're creating new holidays or new memories, you can fall back on those now.
Mm-hmm.
The sad ones are further back.
Yeah, you've replaced them.
You replaced them, but a lot of people don't want to replace them.
Well, because I would think, I mean, what I understand is that if you let go of the grief, it's like you feel guilty about it.
That is.
You somehow don't care.
I
or-
went through that for a little while, but then I realized it's too heavy.
Yeah, I can't stay. I can't
That
sustain that.
I'm just staring at the clock. Mm-mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I knew there was more. Yep.
Well, guys, anybody else? You got anything? This is where I'm going to put crickets in.
Yep. Put crickets in, and but it's a good time to close. And
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing
Well,
this.
I'm thankful for you this holiday week.
I'm thankful for you too, and I thank you for going into this, because I know it's as far along as you are. I know that there are still stingers for you.
Sure, I miss his physical hugs and this physical weirdness and humor and everything else. And he's got a message for you too. Just to enjoy the boys and help them grow by being such a great example. You and your husband are great examples of good people, good, honest people. But and you're helping them build their self-esteem and self-confidence, and that's the greatest gift any parent can give their child.
Thank you. I've been doing, and then we will sign off. I feel like the person that won't get off the phone. I've been reading a lot, and there's this really interesting. Mitch turned me on to it, and oddly enough, he's like, "Kara, if you ever read another book, it's this book. You have to read this book." And Tiffany had that book on her kitchen
Counter.
And so I'm like, "Okay, fine, I'll read the book." And it's, I can't say the word, Druvalo.
I don't know it.
McSomething-vich. And anyway, and so they were talking about men and women and how children, you need both sides of that. You need the soft internal, and then you also need the how to live in the world and be tough. Anyway, that's a whole other topic, a whole other show that I'd like to do. But and I think trying to help kids be balanced is about
it is.
And just honoring who you are and not trying to be something you're not. All right, I'm rambling. So guys, thank you, and I hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving, and let us know how it goes. And you know what? Reach out. If anything gets tough, just reach out. Reach out to us. And how can people find you?
Oh, I have a private Facebook group, Doing Grief Differently with Adam and Sara. So you just have to find it on Facebook and answer a couple questions. And we'd love to have you in there. It's very uplifting. So please join. And I've been sharing quite a bit about the holidays in there.
Well, and I love that other people can start talking too. People can form relationships,
interact,
and so and I think reaching out is probably one of the biggest things. And so I went to a funeral recently, a different one, and the preacher was funny. He was funny, and he approached it with just humor. I mean, in a very nice way, appropriate way. And he said. He said, what we did in our house is we took a picture of the person and we put it on the chair. And I thought that's a really beautiful way.
I did place settings for a long time. It's like when I celebrate his birthday or anything, we still have a cake, and we still do different things.
Does he make fun of that, or does he say? Is he like, Mom?
No, but the first year, that's a whole nother show. We can talk about birthdays and different things, but. If I go there with him, because he'll say, like, why do you always make me cheesecake? That wasn't my favorite, but somehow you thought it was my favorite. They just went with it. I said, I don't know, I got it stuck in my thought pattern.
But has he moved on from being Adam? Or he's still Adam because you are here?
There are many times he feels much more evolved when I talk to him. But then again, so do I. So it depends on the conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kind of like us with personalities. So don't let that fear you.
That
took a while because you want them to stay as you remember them, but yet the people around you want you to stay how they remember you too as you change.
Like when you go back to your reunion, you think everybody's supposed to be 18.
Or just as we're evolving. People around you are going to change.
Oh, and thank you, Adam, for the message. I'm so sorry. My brain was moving, and that's, I know, I can always tell when he's around.
Yeah, my eyes are all over the place. So just whatever kind of Thanksgiving you want to have. You want to have a Charlie Brown one with popcorn? Go for it. If you don't want to celebrate, don't celebrate. It's okay. It's okay.
It is
part of the process.
All right. Well, thank you. Let us know how it goes. And if you have any other insight, we'd love to hear it. And I guess that's about it. Happy holidays, 2019. I can't believe we're already here.